how did you get into this entrepreneur journey?
It was a year for me to even get any courage to take any step. I could recite the answers to things, but I didn't actually ever go do it until I did. And that's when things started to change.
What Trevor is about to go into right now, it's going to save you hundreds of hours of time and frustration.
You always want to buy back your time when you're hiring. And that's what a lot of us, we make mistakes on, is we hire so we can go get more money.
Hi, everybody. This is Jose Luis Morales. Welcome back to the Residual Real Estate Agent Show. Today, we have a treat for you guys. We have Trevor Mauch. He is the founder of Carrot Websites, which is real estate websites for both real estate agents and investors. And today, he's going to be sharing with us how to succeed in this entrepreneur journey. And he's going to be sharing with us tips and tricks as to how to go through the tough times of being an entrepreneur. The other thing that he's going to be sharing with us is he's going to also be giving us some information as to how Carrot Websites can help you as an individual agent or even as an investor as well, too. Welcome to the show, Trevor. How are you?
Dude, Jose, I'm doing amazing, man. I can't get over your background. I'm a car guy as well. I love the new fast fancy cars, but I'm a classical car guy. And I just saw the books up behind you, the Ultimate Collector Cars. Yeah. I've got one of those, dude, and I absolutely love cars too. So pumped to be on here with you today and talking entrepreneurship and how to grow for sure.
Likewise, man. So let's start off by just telling the audience, who is Trevor Mauch? And then how did you get into this entrepreneur journey? Like, meaning, was Carrot Websites the first business that you started? Or were there other businesses that led to Carrot?
Yeah, man. So I'll kind of start where we are to set context, and then we'll go back. And yeah, I'm Trevor Mauch. I live in a small town in Oregon, a little town of about 25,000 people called Roseburg. And I've always lived in small towns in Oregon. And I have a company called Carrot, carrot.com. We work with about 8,000 active real estate investors and agents to generate about 450,000 online leads every year. Most of those are house sellers. So where agents might be struggling to find inventory right now, every single month, the majority of the leads that come in through our system are from a seller going to Google, typing up a Google search, and then landing on one of our clients' websites. So that's kind of our bread and butter. If you were to Google search like "sell my house" or "sell my house fast" in any city in the country, you're probably going to find 3 to 8 Carrot sites controlling page 1 in Google in every city in the country. So that's that part of it. We're a team of about 55 people. And Jose, I never wanted to grow a big team. Like, if you'd have talked to me 5-10 years ago, I was the guy, let's say 10 years ago for sure. I was the guy where it's like lifestyle business, and I thought that that's what gets you freedom. And we'll kind of talk here in a little bit how I actually think that that's what gives you the opposite of freedom today. And I'll kind of walk through some of the mindset shifts I've had to go through from being a guy who never wanted employees, who avoided everything I could do to hire employees, to now 55 employees, self-funded, 8-figure a year business that works with a lot of amazing clients. So that's the context for now. But going back, I started in real estate actually in college. So I wanted to be an attorney because I had this really amazing, charismatic college professor, dude. His name was Ari DeGroot, and he had since passed a few years ago, unfortunately. But I'd be in this college class, and it's business law, and like business law should be the most boring subject in all of college. And he would somehow make it really, really fun. And he was doing that by teaching business law through how he would do real estate transactions as an investor. And it was just, I'm going, man, I want to be him. I want to do what he does. And so I got half that right out of LSAT. I flunked the LSAT testing into law school twice. I couldn't even get waitlisted on any law school, even the ones that the internet said that any dummy could get waitlisted on. But I did buy a rental property while I was in college. No money down, literally the TV infomercial thing. I found a 4-unit building up by the college, negotiated a seller carry on that. I still have that property today. And then I went and found private money. Didn't know what private money was, but I knew I didn't have any money and I couldn't get a loan. And so I found it. And from day one, that property cash flowed. And that's what got me into real estate. Was I said, man, I'm a 21-year-old kid, had all these limiting beliefs in my mind that I worked through in that year. It was a year for me to even get any courage to take any step. And I was in the library at the colleges, in the forums all the time. Just I could recite the answers to things, but I didn't actually ever go do it until I did. And so once that happened, man, and that first win happened, I go, what else is out there that I've been feeling I couldn't do because I was too young, or because I didn't have any money, or because of 100 of other reasons. What else do I have a limiting belief around that I should go tackle? And that's when things started to change.
That's awesome. Good for you, man. It's interesting how some people in our life will have such a big impact as to how our career path goes. For me, it was my parents.
Yep.
They had a huge impact as to me getting into real estate, but for you as well, to the professor. So was Carrots the first business that you actually started besides the rental property business, or was that the first business? And if it was, did it happen by accident, or was it on purpose? Like, meaning like, I'm going to grow this huge company.
No, dude, I'll answer the last question first. It was an accident, and I found a way to make it very purposeful after I discovered that there was a real need in the market that we could solve. But so after I graduated college, my wife and I moved from small town Oregon with one rental property under my belt, and she was going up to Portland, Oregon, which is the big city for us, to get her master's degree in the health field. And so we were up there, Jose, and I gave myself this permission at that time. I said, you know what, I want to make sure that I'm giving myself a chance to take a leap right now before I get locked into something I feel is too hard to get away from. And so I said, I'm going to just go not get a job for a year, and I'm going to try to figure out how to be an entrepreneur. I had a couple $1,000s in the bank, was also, I didn't have a bunch of money. I had a rental property that didn't make me any money because all the money goes into the bank account to pay for the roofs and to pay for the other things. So I had an asset, but I didn't make any money from it on the monthly basis, and I didn't have a job. And so a couple $1,000s, no job, no real money, rental property coming in. And I was trying to manage it from 300 miles away, which didn't work out very well. So someone manages that now. But we got up to Portland, and I thought I wanted to be a house wholesaler or a flipper. And at that time, I started to really study how the internet was growing a lot at that time. This would have been 2007 or so. And it was still relatively new. You know, internet really being an engine for commerce was only about a decade old at that time. And I said, well, I want to learn how to like get something online to find these sellers of these properties who are just going to the internet to search. And at first I just went to GoDaddy.com, bought my domain name, and launched one of their websites on their little website builder. And I put it online, and I started posting things on Craigslist, saying, hey, if you need to sell your house or whatever, you know, we can help you. And I started to get some leads, but nothing was really catching traction. And so during that time, I was also doing some consulting for a mortgage company just to pay the bills. I'd have a desk at the mortgage company for about half the day, and I would literally cold call Craigslist leads because that's what they wanted me to do. I'm like, this is miserable. But it also was a really good skill set to really learn through how to number one, not have the fear of rejection as much. And then number two, how do I make it so in my mind, I truly am convicted about the product that I'm selling and offering, and that I'm doing a service for the person to reach out to them. Now, every person's not going to need the service, but I really started to learn how can I add value in the marketing that I do rather than just putting out marketing. And so I'd cold call for a while, hated it. And I said, there's got to be a better way to do this, because I do not want to pick up the phone cold call for them anymore. And then the mortgage guy came in, and he pulled up, he said, pull this up on the computer. He said, like, Google search mortgage brokers, Portland, Oregon. And I did. And up pops the results. And he goes, how do I get right there? And he pointed to the top of Google, and he's on page 3 or something. I go, man, I don't know. He goes, could you figure it out? I go, yeah, I'll figure it out. And so this is 2007. And at that time, I just really honestly, the next 5 years, I just dove deep into how do you use the internet to attract and then convert the highest quality prospects into a lead, because then they're coming to you for business. You don't have to go to them anymore. And we did that. We got them ranked really high on Google on that side of things. They stopped doing a lot of the cold calling because the best leads were coming to them who were ready to do a deal, ready to get funding. And I went on from there and did consulting, doing the same thing for some really big businesses. A $1 billion flooring company that you guys have probably, the listeners of this have probably walked on the flooring. If you've used any Home Depot, like luxury vinyl plank flooring, the LifeProof flooring, or any of theirs that are the Home Depot brand, this company made it all. And we took them from number 8 on HomeDepot.com to number 1 on HomeDepot.com in their category within 8 months. And it was doing the same thing. We just went, there's all these people online that are already searching these things around flooring or around your brand, but you don't have any content in front of them. What if we could just get really good, high quality content, get it in front of them on a high converting website, and then we're just getting in front of this flood of people who are already coming online every single day. And so that was the first real business, Jose, was that I went in and took this skill set that I had built and started doing it for other businesses, grew an online publishing company myself, leveraging the same skill set. And then this was the business that preceded Carrot. Actually, there were two. And this is where some of the failures and lessons came in. Was I was learning the skill set of how do I get up a website, number one, but then number two, how do I set it up the correct way? So it's going to actually have a good chance of ranking well in Google. Number three, how do I then create the right kind of content on that website so it's high value to the reader, but also Google loves it and it gets you ranked high? And then number four, I said, once people are getting here, how do I actually make them turn into a lead at a high rate? So I got really good at that skill set. And then I saw that the income that was coming in for me, which wasn't that great, it was very hamster wheel income. It wasn't evergreen. If I wasn't doing the work and I got off the hamster wheel, my income went down, right? And I said, there's got to be a better way. And so I had a buddy over here who was starting a software company. I said, that's interesting. That's like recurring revenue. Maybe I want to learn that. And so I invested into that software company. And that's where I started to learn software. I started to learn, how do you talk with developers? I know nothing about developing. I can't code a lick of code. I'm a marketing guy and I own a software company. But that's what was my introduction to software. Then the other business that I had started at that time was taking the same skill set and building a publishing company on the internet. And we did pretty good. I mean, we were making $400,000 or $500,000 a year. We'd split it between the two of us, and very good income for mid to early 20-something-year-old guys. But I remember vividly in 2010, and this when things really changed for me, was 2010 through 12. I remember vividly waking up. We had our first daughter in 2010, and my wife had gone to work, and my daughter went to the babysitter, and I was laying there in bed at like 10 o'clock in the morning, looking up at the ceiling, going, I do not want to get up to do the work in the business that I had created. Like, I had this dream that I thought the entrepreneur dream was, you start this business, you can make money, you can travel, you can work from anywhere. I can work at the coffee shop. I can work at my table in the underwear, kitchen table in the underwear, and you're going to get freedom. And I actually found, Jose, that my business trapped me more than it gave me freedom.
I agree.
I found that I didn't even want to go to work in the business that I had started, even though I made good money. From the outside in, everyone's like, dude, he's got it made. And I did. I wasn't grateful, right? I wasn't grateful. I did have it made, but I was miserable. And so that started my journey, Jose, to go, like, number one, is the entrepreneur dream real? Or are all the people that are talking about it just blowing smoke? Or maybe I just haven't figured out how to do it yet. I figured out how to make some money. I figured out how to do some marketing, but how do I truly build a business of freedom and impact? And that next 3 years, dude, is what was the nexus of Carrot and what completely changed my life and my outlook on all business completely. So we can dive into that phase if you want.
I would love to dive into that phase, because I am one of the top agents in my marketplace. I had kids as well too. Now, yep. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 4-month-old. And after I had kids, I realized, man, I don't have an actual business.
Yep.
I have a really high paying job, meaning yep. the moment that I step away from the business is the moment the business is gone. So I am on the same journey as what you've already gone through right now. Yep. But now I'm looking at the business as something that serves the lifestyle that I want to create, and I'm building it the way that I want to build it versus something that traps. And for the viewers out there who are watching this, sometimes it takes somebody 5, 7, 10 years or something to happen in your life for you to realize this. But what Trevor is about to go into right now is so critical. And if you can learn this from the beginning, it's going to save you hundreds of hours of time and frustration. So I'd love for you to dig into this. I think this is great information for the viewers, and thank you for sharing that.
Oh, for sure, man. So this is the stuff I'm the most passionate about. And like I said, our stated company mission, I'm looking at it on the wall right now at Carrot, is to help entrepreneurs build businesses of freedom and impact. That's not an accident. That's because I went through, several businesses where it did not allow that, where I didn't have the freedom in my business or from it. So therefore, I couldn't go out there and actually make the impact I wanted to make in the world, because I was trapped in my business. I was just trying to survive in that business that was making a high paid job that was trapping me in it. So this is what happened in 2010, 11. after too many days in a row of waking up and going, man, I'm just not pumped to go to work. And I said, there's something wrong here. And I remember that there was a friend who had become a mentor after that. And I'm going, I don't know, like he seemed like he's got his stuff together. And so I think this entrepreneurial dream thing is real because he seems like he's got it right now. Mm-hmm. And I had never been in a mastermind before that. And I got a hold of him and he's like, dude, I'm going to start a mastermind this year. And it was the first and only year he'd ever done that mastermind. Literally, it was that one year. This is 2012. And he never did it again after that. And it's almost like it was just like providential. Like this mastermind was created for those of us who were in it that one year, and it changed all of our lives. And so I plunked down this big check, bigger than I had the ability to do, big check. And I 4 times that year got a chance to hang out with this guy who had 20 something employees, had 3 or 4 different businesses. He worked a couple days in this business doing the things that he loved and enjoyed. Then he'd work a couple days in this business, going in and doing the things he loved and enjoyed. And he coached his kids' football team. And he bought a golf course. And like, he's a dude who's 5 or 6 years older than me. I'm going like, there's something different that he's got that I haven't figured out yet. So as I was in it, the big thing that was an epiphany for me in meeting him is number one, he talked about unique ability. Right. And there's a lot of different ways people talk about it. It could be unique ability. It could be your genius zone or zone of genius or whatever it is. Right. But he talked about it in a little bit different way than I had heard other people talk about it. So prior to that, people would say, that you're in your genius zone or your unique ability if you are really good at the thing. People say you're awesome at it and you get paid well to do it. And so I was getting paid pretty darn well to do the things I was doing. And I would always have people tell me that I was really good at that work. And so I said, well, maybe I just need to do more of this stuff. And that stuff was creating marketing campaigns and doing all this stuff that made that happen, writing email copy and doing all that stuff. But it really like it sucked the life out of me. But I kept on doing it because it was getting me paid well and people said I was good at it. Greg instead said, he said, no, dude, your unique ability, and he got this from a guy named Dan Sullivan, who has a business called Strategic Coach, right? Your unique ability is what gives you more energy when you're done than when you started doing that thing. And I said, okay, so let me pull back and like figure out for me what gives me energy. And I took out a piece of paper. I took out a piece of paper, bigger one than this one here. But then I just like drew a line down the middle of that piece of paper. And that's such a good, like the line down the middle of a piece of paper exercise is such a great utility for so many different things. Because you can like separate things. So I wrote on one side of it, I wrote energy give, and another side I wrote energy drain. Okay. So if you guys are watching the video, this is a really simple version of it, give and drain. I said, I want to recognize and look back in the last week or two, or the average week, what gives me energy in life? Okay. Even if I'm not doing it, like, especially if I'm not doing it. And I was like, working out gives me energy, but I'm not doing it because I don't have time to do it. Right. These types of conversations with these types of people give me energy. I love strategy, dude. Like, I've got whiteboards and all kinds of stuff around here. I love strategy. I want to go like blow a whiteboard up and do strategy, but then I want to leave. Like, I don't want to implement the strategy. Right. But in my previous business, I was the guy who implemented the strategy all day long. Right. And so I literally wrote that strategy gives me energy. Implementing anything removes my energy. And I'm like, that's a problem because that's what makes me money is implementing stuff. So how am I going to do this? Right. And so I ended up having this big list on both sides of what gives me energy in life and then what drains my energy in my work or life currently. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, cool. I've at least recognized it. And that's where people usually stop. And that's where I had stopped previously is I would write the stuff down, then I would recognize it and I would move on. But I remembered someone saying, and we've all heard it, that what's not measured can't be moved. Mm-hmm. And we usually use that in a context of a financial number or a metric over here. But I'm thinking like, what about energy? Like if my energy is getting drained, I need to move it toward the majority of my workday, my life is energy giving. And so I said, well, what percentage of my work week is in this energy give column versus energy drain column? At that time, it was only about 20% in the energy give column, and about 80% of things I was doing were draining my energy. I said, no wonder I don't like my work right now. Like, no wonder. And so that right there was the big epiphany for me. And I'll advance through the next little bit that led to Carrot. That was the big epiphany for me, that I was optimizing my workday and my tasks on what things brought back the biggest ROI money-wise. I should have been optimizing on what brings me back the most energy. And so I just completely shifted everything. I said, I don't care how much money I make in the future. I just want my work to give me energy. I want to get back to life where I get done with my work day at the end of the day, and then the crumbs are not left for my kids and my wife. I want to make it to where the best of me is still there when I get home. And I said, if I can shift this from 80% energy draining to 80% energy giving, imagine what will then be left from my family. Imagine how fired up I'll be. And also, you know what? Maybe I'll actually make more money too, possibly. And so I got rid of that next year, dude, 2012 going into 2013. Every quarter, and I call this the energy audit now. So you guys can get the download. You don't have to opt in. It's just carrot.com/energy. carrot.com/energy, download it, no opt-in required. I just want people to get it. It gives you my whole energy audit worksheet. It's the same one I use every quarter. And we have to do it all the time, because you end up adopting things that drain your energy all the time. And then you got to continually prune them out. So let me finish this. I'll toss it back over to you. But so you do that. I put down the ratio. Now this is where the magic is. Okay. Before, what I would do, Jose, is I would go, oh, cool. Now let me plan out my business goals for the quarter. Now what I do is, before I do any business goal planning, I do my energy audit, and then I circle, let's say, the one or two things that are draining my energy the most on that piece of paper. And I go, okay, those are draining my energy the most. Then I'm going to write down how many hours per week I'm spending on each one of those one or two activities. And let's just say one of them is writing long form blog posts. I'm doing that for 6 hours a week. And the other one is whatever, cold calling or something like that. I'm going to write them down. And then I'm going to go, cool, that's 10 hours a week on things that are just absolutely killing me right now that I don't like. The very first thing I do in the quarter now is I either say I'm not going to do that anymore, or I end up creating a process and delegating it. So you always want to buy back your time when you're hiring. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of us, we make mistakes on, is we hire so we can go get more money. Dude, in the early stages, you shouldn't hire to go get more money. You need to hire to buy back your time so you can get more energy doing your work, which will then end up resulting in more money. And so I've got 10 hours right here that I can buy back. And all I have to do at the start of the quarter is document how I do those things right now, go train it and go find someone to do it. And here's the big mindset shift was, in the early days, a lot of the stuff that was draining my energy the most was the stuff that made me the most money. And so I'm going, whoa, how do I not do these things? Because they're the things that make me the most money. Like, I can't not do these. And an example is, I got really, really good at writing those long form blog posts that would rank really well on Google and get us all the business. And I said, well, I don't like doing those though. I like the strategy of it. I like mapping out the strategy of what we should write about and like blowing it through, verbalizing it to someone in 5 minutes, but I don't want to write it. And so I went out there and found a person who was far better at me than writing it. He ended up working for me for a couple of years. He wrote all my articles. I paid him a lot of money to do it because it was a high value thing. He ended up becoming the editor in chief of the Shopify Plus blog right after working for me. And so you take that thing, and I just bought back 10 hours, and I go over to the energy give side and I go, cool, what on the energy give side am I not doing enough of? Oh, I want to do that now. I got 10 more hours a week now that I can do, and I'm going to plug this energy give thing. And you do that every quarter for a year or two. I went from 80% energy drain to 80% energy give in about 2 years. I'm a slow learner. Okay. So it took me 2 years to do that. But once that started to happen, dude, that's when things started to pick up. That's when I had more margin in my day to think creatively. That's when I finally started to look at work as a beacon of energy versus this thing that was just sucking the life out of me, even though I was making good money. And that was the thing that really was the big nexus for me. I'm going to toss over to you, and I've got one more thing that was a key thing for me in changing my life and business that led to the opportunity when Carrot came about.
I love this, man. It's funny. Cool. I had the same realization like a year ago that I love strategy as well too, and that's my gift. But I came to the same realization as you that I hate the implementation part.
Dude, yeah.
I hate it. And it's funny because I started hiring people that are good at the implementation, that enjoy the implementation, and I'm more of the visionary. So that was really good. I wanted to ask you, like, what was that time like when you were making that transition from delegating the things that made you the most money, and what were some of the challenges that you came across? Like, did you magically just find this guy and this guy just took it over like that? Did you have to hire a couple of bad people before
Yeah.
you got to the right person, and any advice or tips as it relates to that?
Yeah, as far as the delegation side of it goes, kind of the way that I do things now, if it's delegating something, excuse me, if it's delegating something that I'm doing, and I'm not delegating it to an existing employee that I've got. Let's say it's brand new. I'm a one-person shop, and I'm trying to delegate this thing. Create a really good process for it. So I'll use like loom.com now and just bring up the free Loom thing.
Yeah.
I used to type them all out, but I'm like, I don't like doing that. I just want to record a video. And so I would record the video, and I would go to like upwork.com if I'm looking for a virtual type of a person, or it was Craigslist back then is what I would post on now. Now it's like Facebook Marketplace for local people. And I'd always post a very short description of what I'm looking for. I would post a test project on it, and then I would always run it through at least 2 to 3 people. So on upwork.com, I would literally hire 2 or 3 people to do the exact same job. I'd pay them all. They'd all get their payment to do the thing. Okay. And I'd give them all a deadline. And then all of a sudden, bam, I'm getting back the best of the 3. And then I hire the best of the 3 to continue to do that work for me after that. Before that, the mistakes I would make was I would find one person, right? And I go, oh, this person looks pretty good. And I like have them do the job, have them do the work. And then you're just repeatedly, if it's not the right person, you're repeatedly going through and having to coach them into a skill that they may not ever be able to get to the point that you need them to be. And so that having 2 to 3 people do the same task, pay them all to do it, that's helped big time. And then test projects, just really making sure that you're not putting theoreticals at them. And that's what I would do a lot back then. I'm like, hey, I'd love to have you doing some blog posts with me. And then I'd look at their blog posts and they're kind of cool, and it looked like they're okay or whatever the task is. But now it's like always run them through the test project that isn't a theoretical, that it's a real project, like an actual use case, a real pain point you have right now that you need to get solved. And if they can solve that, then they're going to be amazing. So yeah, Upwork works really great for that kind of stuff. If you're looking for the virtual, or Facebook Marketplace, honestly, works really good for the local stuff. If you're looking to do that,
That's awesome.
do that there. One of the biggest things probably though, in that time period, Jose, was during that transition period, when I was trying to pare things down, I came across another book called The Pumpkin Plan by a guy named Mike Michalowicz. And I don't know if people can relate, but at least at that time in my life, I had been going after so many new opportunities. Mm-hmm. Because when you start to get bored in your business, and excuse me, today I call it the 3-year turn and burn cycle. The 3-year turn and burn cycle might be 4 years for you, might be 5 years for you. Go something like this. And it's usually for the people who are the starters, right? Mm-hmm. It sounds like you're a visionary. You're probably a starter. You get energy in the start, but then you might not get energy in maintaining the business, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that get energy maintaining the business. They're your integrators. And so for the visionary, we get really pumped about the start. We get the thing off the ground. We get the rocket ship up there. It's working. But then we start to lose that fire for the business in 2, maybe 3 years out. Okay. And we wake up not wanting to do the job that we want to do. And so then we get distracted. We go, you know what? This thing over here, this opportunity over here kind of looks good. Like I'm going to be a coach now, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. And what happens is, because we didn't build the right systems or processes in our business that's bringing in the money, or hire someone to truly run that business, we take our eye off the ball. And then that original business starts to go down as we're trying to get this new one off the ground. And then you're always in this perpetual 3 to 4 year cycle where you're just like churning and burning in these new business opportunities. You're never letting something scale. And that was me. Dude, that was 100% me. It's like I was on a 2 to 3 year cycle all the time. I would get bored on it, and I'd see another opportunity. And by that 2011, 2012, I had this main business that was doing pretty good, $400,000 or $500,000 a year. I had a handful of rental properties that were building it as an asset, but not really making me money on the monthly. But because I wasn't getting the juice out of the main business, energy wise, I invested in that software company. I invested in this other one. I started doing consulting over here, and I was the CEO of these multiple businesses. But if you're the CEO of multiple businesses, each one of those businesses is suffering versus what it could be doing potentially. And so in that 2012 year, after I created my energy audit, I'm like, dude, and I read the book, The Pumpkin Plan, I'm going to pare everything down. And the analogy that Mike Michalowicz uses in the book is, he says, it comes from this story basically of, he saw a world champion pumpkin growing competition. right, up in Delaware or something. And he talked to the guy who won. And he said, like, how do you grow those big pumpkins? And the guy goes, well, I'll walk you through it. And he said, well, first of all, it starts at the right seed. Okay. He goes, you can't just get any old pumpkin seed to grow these big pumpkins. You have to have the seed that has the potential to grow the big pumpkin. And then next you plant the seed in the ground, you start watering the heck out of it. Nothing happens for a little while, but you still got to water it. And then eventually something sprouts up, and then you've got this vine. And you might have 3 or 4 of those vines, right? And on the vine, you've got leaves, and eventually some pumpkins sprout on that vine. And then eventually you see, 2 or 3 pumpkins on that vine that look a little bit bigger than the other ones, that look like they have a little bit more promise. Because at that point, you got to hack everything else off that vine, hack all leaves off the vine, hack every other pumpkin off the vine, because every leaf and every other pumpkin on the vine is robbing nutrients from those ones that have the biggest potential. And he said another few weeks goes by and you're going to pick one of those pumpkins. He goes, man, that one right there, it's growing a little bit quicker. It's got a little more potential. He goes, now you hack the other pumpkins off the vine, and you ruthlessly hack everything off the vine as they pop up, because all nutrients need to go to that one big pumpkin now. And he goes, in that last couple of weeks, you can like almost see it physically growing. And the business analogy to that is, we all end up planting all these seeds and have these 3 different vines with all these leaves and all these pumpkins, that they're all going to be these little tiny things that, because they don't get the energy and the nutrients that they need, because we're spreading it out too far. Instead, if we just trim the vine, we trim off all the distraction, all the things that are not great opportunities, and we focus on one thing, you end up building something special. And so that was the big mindset shift I had at that point, Jose, was rather than me doing a bunch of things, like, what if I just focus on one? What if I just focus on making one thing amazing? And what if I, rather than every 3 years, get distracted by something new, what if I actually like innovate within this business every 2 to 3 years and keep it exciting, rather than trying to create a new business? And what if I actually like find the people who like to do the things I don't like to do, and then we just keep on innovating on the same thing over and over again, and we just like keep this business and grow it into a big pumpkin instead of planting new seeds all the time. And in that year, I said, I'm gonna trim my vines, dude. I got rid of one of the software companies that I invested in went belly up. The other one is doing great now. It's also an 8-figure business. The consulting company I killed. The company that was bringing in the majority of my income, I didn't get energy from it. I sold that share back to my business partner for way less than it was worth, just to get the energy back. And I was sitting here I went from, several $100,000 a year in income to literally that next year. I saw my tax return just recently in my garage as we were cleaning it out. $26,000 is what I earned that next year in 2012. I went from multiple hundreds to 26,000 purposefully, because I said, I'm going to trim so then now I can start fresh with better focus and focus on one thing. And once you do that, once you trim all the distraction and you eliminate the pressure to try to find your purpose in life or whatever. And I just said, I'm not going to try to find the purpose in my life. My purpose in life this year is to be the best husband I can be, the best father I can be, and the best business person I can possibly be. That's it. I wasn't trying to find this magical purpose. And that year's the year that changed everything, dude, because I had margin now. I didn't have a bunch of distractions, a bunch of businesses I was working on. And I sat there and wrote down what I called non-negotiables. And I said, if I'm going to be building another business again, I'm going to be really intentional, write down my non-negotiables of what this business has to do, or otherwise I'm going to kill the business or change it. And the best way to find out what you want to do is to write down what you don't want to do. The best way to find what you don't like or what you do like is to write down what you don't like. And so I wrote down all those things in my previous business that I didn't like, man. I'm like, I didn't like that it was inconsistent. It was boom and bust income. At the end of the year, I'd have a really good taxable income, but it was stressful every month. I didn't like that I wasn't building an asset, right? Like you were mentioning, I was doing good transactional income, but if I got hit by a bus, my family would be up a creek. I didn't like the fact that my previous businesses, I wasn't really working within my unique abilities very much. And it wasn't having a whole lot of fun. And so I looked at each one of those and I said, man, what's the opposite of each one of these? Well, I want a consistent, predictable business. That was non-negotiable number one. I want a business that builds a valuable long-term asset. So I have to now pick a business model that allows that. Number three, I want to have a business that's fun inherently. Number four, I want to build a business that has one primary focus and purpose that I can feel at my core. And then the fifth one was work within my unique abilities. I put this up on the wall. It's still on my wall today. I'm like, all right, I'm creating a business that matches these. And if it ever changes these things, I change the business. And that year, dude, that's when the opportunity of Carrot came up accidentally.
That's awesome. Good, man. I love it. It's funny because this last 2 years, I started saying no to a lot more things,
Yep.
like different opportunities. And it's not that they were bad opportunities. There was opportunity to obviously make money,
Mm.
but it would distract me from the what I'm actually looking to accomplish and what I'm
Yep.
looking to grow. So there's power in saying no to things, and there's power in
Dude.
trimming things down, and there's power in focus. When I was starting off in real estate, people would tell me, "Oh, you can make side money doing this, or you can make this." Um, they wanted me to get into like life insurance and that
Yeah.
I can make additional income. I told them, "Look, I don't need to get into life insurance. If you're in life insurance, I'll recommend them to you. I don't want
Hmm.
anything. Just take care of the clients. I'm
Yeah.
going to focus on being the best real estate agent that I could be."
Yep.
And that helped out tremendously because all of my focus, energy, and resources were going to one thing. So there's
Mm.
dramatic. Now, as you started to grow Carrot, how did you attract and retain talent?
Yeah. So the first thing that started to work honestly up front was we pretty early on created a set of core values. Now we've adjusted them a couple times since then, but when I was coming out of those other several businesses where I made some good money on several of them, but just in general wasn't purposeful and passionate about them. That was the big thing, is like out of the gates, number one, we weren't trying to build a big business. It was literally like, I take it 1 year at a time. I do what I call a 1 year contract with myself. At the start of the year, I go, here's where we are. Here's where our vision's going. So we have a long-term vision, but I say, am I ready to sign up for this for another year? Every single year I do that still. And so when I do that, it creates massive clarity for me on where we're going and what we're doing. And I can communicate that really well with an employee coming in, or I can communicate it really well when I'm hiring a person. Where I went wrong in the past, where a lot of other people go wrong as well, is we hire a person to do a task and we think, hey, they're just coming in to do this task. No, you're hiring someone to help you drive towards a mission. And if they don't know what the mission is, you're not going to retain some of your best talent, because they can always go find somewhere else to get paid more. Right. And so that's the first thing, is like, we have to be really clear. Why are we doing this thing? Why is it that we're doing this? Why is it that I'm pumped about this? And I'll talk with a lot of real estate agents on this topic, and a lot of them struggle with it. They're going, I'm doing it because it's kind of a good income and I like driving around looking at houses. Okay, cool. But why should someone on your team be passionate about being a part of what you're doing? And I think there's a deeper reason why in there. Like for me, I had to go back into my story, and it took a couple of years to really nail our mission. We've revised it a couple of times since then, but I had to go back into my story, and he said, I honestly am just passionate about helping entrepreneurs, helping prevent them from going through what I went through. I want to help people build businesses of freedom and impact faster, because I truly feel that small business are the people that truly create real impact in communities. And imagine if there was more small businesses out there that truly impacted their communities in great ways. And we have agents and investors who have created nonprofits right now because we've been the example for them, and they're out there changing their communities because they followed us doing the same thing. And so I think we have to have a vision that people want to follow. Us as founders, Jose, we've got to have a vision big enough that all of our team members' visions can fit inside of that. And the second that our vision is not big enough that they can fit inside of it, you will then lose the good performers.
I agree 100%. How has the vision for Carrot changed over time? Like obviously.
Yeah, in the early days, literally the goal or the vision was, can we make this work? Right, like that was year one. Can we get enough people to pay for this thing where we see value? They see value in it, that we can hire employees. So I didn't take a paycheck for Carrot for about 18 months. And we're just putting it back into people. And it's probably about year 2 or year 3 when we started to see consistency coming in. And like, so we work with about 8,000 agents and investors right now that use our software to get more leads online. But back then, when it was a few hundred, then we said, okay, well, now the next year is to see if we can get this business to be an actual business. Like, can we systemize and make this thing scale to $1 million a year? And then probably about the $1 million a year mark is when I really started to shift into, what, there's always gonna be a bigger number. So I can't make the purpose or the mission be numbers based anymore, because there's always a bigger number. And if we were to hit, $1 million a month, which is about what we're doing now, it's like, if you were to hit that, there's someone else doing like 10 million a month, and there's someone else doing 100 million a month. They're like just stupid numbers, right? Yeah. And so we started about $1 million a year. I started going, man, that number doesn't matter, other than just it shows progress. And so then I started to pull back and said, what does matter? Why should we continue to grow this business? Like, why does going from 1 million to 3 million this year actually matter? Or why does going from 100,000 to 300,000 this year actually matter? And we really thought about that a lot. When we're sitting there at the end of the year doing our planning for the next year, we put that revenue goal at the top. This is probably in 2016 we started doing this. I put big old fat capital letters. I put the word why next to that financial number. I said, why does that number even matter? Like, why don't we just do what we're doing now and dial back our hours by half and just make the same money, but dial our, like, why do we need to grow other than social pressure that we think we need to grow because people say that we need to, right? And so that was a key for us, and really, really working on that. So once we did that, then we really said, you know what, if we grew, we can actually touch more people and impact more people. Well, what kind of impact? Well, man, I love small downtowns. Like we have 3 buildings down here. We're buying and renovating, putting retail up on the bottom floors, residential up top. I'm like, I want more people doing this. I want more people taking some of their income from their business and actually going and helping the food banks or helping the whatever. And so that's what really drove it for us, is asking, why does that number actually matter right there? And then really debating that question.
Now it sounds like with the money that you guys are making, you guys are doing community things to help out the community, basically. Yeah. So that becomes the driving force as opposed to just the number, meaning the larger that number, the more people's lives that you can impact. Yeah,
there's a couple nuances there. That's a biggie. We started something called the Carrot Impact Fund a few years ago, and we seeded it with a really, really good initial endowment in this nonprofit. And so we give away north of $100,000 a year. Last year, I think it was, we fed, it ended up being over 500,000 meals across America in the different places that our team members work. So we're a remote company. We have about 8 employees here locally in our office, and then we have the other 45 or so elsewhere. And so we work with our team members. And this is another way for retention, is you figure out, what do they care about? And especially millennials, they really care about impact. And so one thing that we're able to do with those employees is we have, with the impact program and our culture team, they're able to now donate money into their communities, into food banks or other things that they are our company's passionate about. So we've got that part. But honestly, dude, the impact that I'm the most pumped about is this stuff right here. Like, I want people to change the way that they think about business. I want all of us to change the way that we show up in our businesses, to build better businesses for our employees to work in. I want our businesses to literally be like our top core value over here. I think businesses should be a beacon of positivity and possibility, not a thing that people despise. I think we should be able to make as much money as we possibly can and want to, as long as we're putting positivity and possibility out to the world and actually changing people's lives for the better. So that for me is the reason we're continuing to grow, is I want to reach more people. There's so much negativity in the world right now, man. And I can't change it all. You can't change it all. But I think if we create the ripple effect in our own influence areas, then that ripple effect, touches person A, and then person A goes and they're more positive today, and they have a great conversation, give someone a great tip today. They're happy now. That happiness goes to somebody else. It's like, that's the stuff that I love, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Core values was big for me as well too. And we actually started hiring based on core values.
Yeah.
I went through a series where I had assistants and I could just keep them for a year and a half. And then all of a sudden they would leave. And then I noticed that the people that were staying had very similar, that we all shared similar core values.
Yep.
And we wrote them down, and then we started hiring based on that. I wanted to ask you, would you be open to sharing what your core values are?
Dude, 100%. So this is probably our 3rd iteration of the core values. And I think, the founder's job is usually visionary, and that's like 1 to 3 or more years out. In the early days, the founder's job is all of it: vision, strategy, tactics, right? But as you grow, the founder starts to move more and more towards the visionary bucket. Then you hire people who can do more strategy, and then there's people below them who run the tactical part of the business. And so in the early days, I would sit down in the visionary mindset and write down what were the values of the people that I wanted to hang out with to do this work, right? Like, who are the people I want to hang out with? What are the types of things that I want to make sure are important in us? I wrote down probably a list of 10, and I went to the 2 or 3 employees that we had at that time and said, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Like, which ones hit you the most? Like, what do you resonate with the most with, and the ones you resonate the least with, and why? Because I want to know, they're not going to resonate with all of them. All of them should resonate with you as the founder, because you're going to be the one that has to enforce them and be a good example for them. And then we ended up molding them and shaping them. And then they would kind of go, well, this doesn't really make sense to where that's worded. And so then we would end up coming up with our best version at that point. And so at some point, you just got to publish it and let it sit there. And then maybe a year later, you're like, oh, that one right there. Like whenever I say it, it comes out weird. Let's redo it. And so it's usually for us, every time we do our annual planning, we look at our mission, our vision and our values, and we review them and say, are they still relevant? Do we need to adjust them? And we've only done like big adjustments probably twice in the last 8 years, but every year we look at them. And sometimes it's like we change one word and we go, yeah, that's better now. It's shorter. So I suggest companies should have 5 to 6 values. We did the whole 10 core value thing at the start, but no one can remember all 10. And so I think that's the biggie is in general, people should be able to remember, most of the values. And so we've got core value number 1, be a beacon of positivity and possibility. Whether you're in support, chatting with a real estate agent client, investor client, whether you're on a call like this or in the community, like I want us to be that beacon of like the lighthouse, right? I want us to be in the lighthouse that people look to that just elevates their day and their mood that day. Number 2, have fun and be different. Our company is named after a vegetable, right? Like we've got a whole line of dolls. These are 2 of them. We've got farmer carrot. We've got agent carrot over here, right there. And we just like do a bunch of things like that. We bought carrot.com so we could really like solidify that brand. And we just have a bunch of things that we're passionate about having fun in the business and just really having a fun brand. Number 3, take initiative and show you care. We wanted to make sure that people aren't just waiting for me as the founder to say, hey, we should go do this thing. Like take initiative and go tackle the opportunities and actually care about it, not just do it because someone said you had to. Number 4, craft amazing experiences. We want to make sure it's not just good, but it's amazing. We create joy for the people who use our product and interact with us. Adapt, evolve, and always improve. We got to keep moving and innovating, can't be stagnant. And then number 5 is add humanity to business. And that part's probably one of the ones I'm the most proud and passionate about is trying to find ways to truly connect to people where so many businesses are actually trying to automate humanity out. It's automated messages, automate this. Automation is great. Like we should use it in certain spots, but automation should only happen to scale the personal touch, not to remove it. It's to scale the personal touch. So add humanity to business. Those are the 6.
I hired Sharper Solutions recently. A gentleman by the name of Gary Harper.
Yep. Yeah, Gary's a good friend, man. He's awesome.
Really, it's honestly changing the way that we run our business. One of the ways that it's helped is that I used to do all the planning myself.
Yep.
And I would be the one having to relay the information back to the employees. Whenever we started planning together, it got everybody involved in the same vision. And to be honest, like half or more than half of the people that work with me had no idea what the vision for the company was or what we were looking to accomplish. So stuff started coming more and more off my plate. One of the things that I found interesting is, and this is kind of a tip for the viewers, when we were going over our core values, I think we came up with like 6.
Yep.
And then they go, okay, if you had to remove which one of these core values, which one would you remove?
Yeah.
And we said 1 right away. And then he goes, okay, great. And then he asked us again. And then we started fighting about it. And he said that if you're not willing to fight for the core value, it's not really a core value.
Dude, that's good. That's really good.
Wow. Because I had no idea where they were headed with that. They were like, remove one of them. And we just removed it. And then the next one that he asked us to remove, we were fighting over which one to remove. It's okay. And then he gave it to us. And I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. So I wanted to ask you, what does your planning sessions look like? Who is involved in those planning sections? Is it just you? What type of plans are you guys looking for? Do you guys follow a specific structure like EOS or anything like that? Just for the viewers to see.
Yeah, I was seeing if I could pull up something on my iPad, but I don't think I have it right here right now. So we're kind of in transition a little bit because an interesting thing happens, and some of this is all going to be relevant to everybody, but you might be at a different spot of it. So things break at 3s and 10s, and I'm not sure if many of you have heard that, but things break in business at 3s and 10s. That could be, let's say, 3 employees, things break, right? Because you have to operate differently, and it's usually a communication change and or a cadence change, like how you communicate and when you meet and when you do it. Things break at 3 employees, they break at 10 employees, they break at 30. They break more revenue wise. Things break at $100,000 a year, $300,000 a year, $1 million a year, 3 million, 10 million. And I can tell you every single one of those is 100% true, that things break at 3s and 10s. And what do I mean by things break? Well, the way that you communicated or planned at 3 million will not work anymore at 10 million. It won't. The way that you communicated at 300,000 will not work to get you from 1 to 3 million. It just won't. And so the way that we used to do it back in the day was just like you, when we were sub $1 million, it was me and the co-founder, and we would jam on it, and we go back to the team and say, hey, what do you guys think? And then, hey, let's do the work together. And then around the 1 to 3 million, it was kind of like, I'd craft out 80% of it, and then we would go back to the team, and then we get some good feedback, but it was 80% us, right? And then 3 to 10 million is when we had to really start to transition, because 1 to 3 million in any business, it's pretty much you're taking what you're good at, or that thing that you're able to sell well, and you're operationalizing that one thing. It's one product oftentimes, but it's taking what you're good at, creating processes on it, and plugging people into that to get from 1 to 3 in most businesses. Okay. 3 to 10 is you got to build a leadership team. 3 to 10, unless it's an anomaly type of a business, 3 to 10 million, you got to build a leadership team. And because that's where now, before you were delegating tasks at sub $1 million, let's say right around $1 million, you're delegating projects. So people who lead several people to do it. 3 to 10 million, you're delegating results. And 10 million plus, now you're starting to delegate strategy. And when you get up over 100 million, that's like vision. That's where you're probably going to hire a CEO maybe to step in, and you're delegating vision. You're going to bump over here into the owner bucket or something. Now, those are round numbers, right? But yeah, the way that we do it now, and we're in a transition, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's working better, is we've done the full pendulum from, like I said, we do all the planning to all of a sudden, like between 3 and 10, I would do like 10% of it. Hey, here's some of the goals that we're going after, and I give it to the team. And then it would just be this challenge to make it work. It just wasn't working. And so now it's like a handoff process. So I'm going to be crafting based on the 3-year vision. I pull back and go, here's the numbers I think that we should be moving towards, or the targets we should be moving towards this year. Here's just looking at things. These are the 2 to 3 most important elements we should probably be really looking at and stepping into this year that connect to the 3-year vision. And then I'll pull back and write down on each team based on what I know. Here's some things that need to be looked at and probably put attention to in each team. Now, I would take that then and work with a VP who does strategy, or if there's no VP underneath me in that function like marketing, then I'm in charge of strategy. So then I need to craft the strategy to move towards the numbers that VP does. And so that's the handoff, is we have to create the vision and how the numbers, or how the big goals, or how the big chunks are going to connect to the 3-year. And then I go to my strategic person and say, awesome, you create the strategy and how to get here. And then, but it's always a handoff, because if you're handing that off, you got to get them to understand where you're at, you mold it together, and then they come back to you and go, here's where I think the strategy is going. And then you can coach, bam, now we've got it aligned. Once it's aligned, then they can hand it off to their team and do the same handoff. Hey, here's the strategy where we're going. What do you guys think? Oh, Okay, awesome. Bam, we're good. Now, what do you think are the tactics that we need to implement the strategy? Now they work on those together. So it's much more complicated now than it was before. When you have 55 employees versus 5, it's a lot different.
Yeah, it's funny because we just implemented a leadership team.
Yeah.
And there are certain people that have earned those positions within our company.
Yep.
Now they're taking ownership of certain departments and certain results for certain departments.
Yep.
And it's interesting because I see exactly what you're saying and how the businesses have changed, and it makes perfect sense because I'm at that stage as well too. But I guess I never thought about it from 3 to 10, or even from 10 to 100 million, the changes that have to happen at that point, which is really awesome. What were some of the biggest struggles that you encountered going from a 1 to 2 person team to a 10-person team to then a team of 55?
Yeah, you've got to scale, and this is relevant to everybody, even if you're going from just you to one person. You got to like scale the way that you cast vision and connect the dots on vision and strategy. So when it's just you, like you are the visionary, you are the person coming up with the strategy, you are implementing the strategy with the tactics, and then you are accountable to the numbers of implementing your strategy. Right now, most agents or investors for that case too, but most agents just don't really have a written down strategy or written down vision, or are not even tracking their numbers. So you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, right? Which you can do that if you're fine with the work you're doing and the energy you're getting from it and the income you're making and you're pumped about it, dude, keep doing that. Like you don't need to change anything if you're content and happy in it. But once you get to do, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 people, you have to then start to communicate that vision, like you're mentioning, where if you don't have the vision or values or where you're going written down, people always have to come to you for those decisions because it's locked in your brain. So when you're at the, let's say 6, 7, 8 employees, that's pretty much the max that any one person can really manage well, is in that 6 to 10 range, depending on your proficiency as a manager. And if you're at 6 to 10 employees and everyone reports to you, you're not getting any work done. Like, yeah, you're in those work days where you're going, man, I had so many things on my list. I got like none of them done this week, but I felt like I worked my ass off. Right? How did I work so hard and didn't feel like I got anything done this week? And it's probably because you have all these people that are reporting to you and you delegate something. And what happens? All 8 of those people are going to come back to you for those decisions because you have not documented that vision or cast or put the things in front of them and given them guardrails and how they can make some of those decisions. So that's the biggest thing is at every one of those leaps, you have to change the way that you're communicating the vision and the strategy. And then you have to always reinforce it. At the 3 to 10, it starts to change from just you communicating it to now you've got to make sure your leaders are amazing at it. You've got to like make sure that they're really good at it. And every call that you're on, if you catch something that they say and it's a really good thing, you go, hey guys, this is amazing. You know what? Jose just mentioned this, dude. I want to call this out really quick. Did that thing you just mentioned connects directly to our 3-year vision? And this is why that's important. And I'm pumped that you're focusing on that, dude. Keep on going in on that. Or if it's something else that someone says and you go, hey, good idea that you're coming up with, but how does this connect with our 3-year vision? Can you go check out the 3-year vision and just kind of let us know how it connects? And that's how you kind of stop making sure that there's a bunch of stuff being worked on that isn't good. Always connect them back to the thing that you mentally are already connecting to. It's like, you got to train them to go back to vision. Don't be bringing any ideas unless they connect that thing in some way, shape, or form, or it's something broken in the business we got to take care of today.
That's awesome. I love that. Good. So let's get into Carrots. What does Carrot actually do, and who does it serve?
Yeah. So at a high level, I mean, the most basic way to do it is we are a company that helps you have a high performing website. We call them authority hubs here because, like, as a real estate agent, it's, a lot of agents have the broker provided site, or you'll get a really pretty website somewhere. But oftentimes agents don't really customize their site with robust credibility. And with the marketing that happens now, and also just the way that people are going to their cell phones for everything, any marketing we do creates online demand. If you're doing a radio show, if you're doing TV, if you're doing direct mail, if you're out at an open house, if you're out there driving for dollars, cold calling, doesn't matter, whatever it is, all of that creates online demand. And someone's going to pick up their cell phone. They're going to Google search the phone number that they just got cold called from if they don't know who it is, because most people under 40 aren't answering that call anyway. They're going to go like, who's this person's called me 3 times this month? Or they're going to Google the person's name on that direct mail piece, or someone referred them over, Nancy Agent, who's an awesome friend. And then they're going to go Google that person's name and go like, hey, who is this person? Are they good? And so all offline marketing creates online demand. We help you to move from just a website to an authority hub. So it's the center of all of your marketing. It makes all of your marketing work better. And then number 2, with the data that we've seen, the number 1 highest motivated clients, and we're going to talk sellers right now, they come from inbound on the internet. A lot of agents are really used to posting on Instagram and Facebook, and those things work, right? But the difference in what we focus on here at Carrot is we focus on helping people do what we call evergreen marketing you do one time and it works for years, rather than marketing you do one time and it works for 72 hours or a month, right? So if you can picture a hamster wheel, and when a hamster is on the thing, right, they get on it and they move, and they physically have to do activity to make the thing move. But the second they hop off the hamster wheel, what happens? The hamster wheel slowly turns to a stop. They got to get back on the hamster wheel and keep on going. And that's the way that so many agents and investors and entrepreneurs in general are marketing, is they're using marketing that keeps them on this hamster wheel continually. So the only way you can get off the hamster wheel is either you switch to something that is evergreen, that you do once and it works for a long time, or you pay someone to get on the hamster wheel for you, right? Which is employees. And it's probably a little bit of a mix of both. But yeah, we help you launch a high converting website. Our clients generate more motivated house sellers through Google searches than any other system in the world in the real estate space. And our clients control more page one rankings for motivated house sellers than any other system in the world as well.
That's awesome. And then what are you guys mainly like helping them with the SEO aspect of it, or is it mainly pay per click? Or is it just a combination of both that the most successful websites are doing?
Yeah, it's so we provide the tool, and kind of what we like to talk about is there's a few different ways to work with us. There's do it yourself. So you log in, you launch your website, you can pick the design. It comes with all the copy built into it, and then you customize it to bring in your content, your credibility. So we do like the first 60% of the SEO. And now what does that mean? Well, it's more of the tech stack and the optimization of the initial website. And our websites are among the fastest loading in any industry, not just real estate, but we were in a third-party study that was done. We've got a blog post that links up and shows the data. And our websites are about 68% faster than the average WordPress custom website, and far faster than playstore.com and wordpress.com and all those kinds of things. So page speed is really important for conversion and SEO today. And then the structure of your website is. So we take care of all of that, so you don't have to go figure it out yourself or hire someone and hope that they know what they're doing with SEO and conversion. And then we have really good training that walks you through how then to really dive in and do the SEO. But there's a couple things that we do help make it far easier on. So we have something called location pages, and we pioneered that in the investor space 7 to 8 years ago. If you're to look at like Zillow, when you do a Google search and you search, homes for sale and blah, you're going to find Zillow or realtor.com that are always in the top of Google in some way, shape, or form. Now, when you click on that page, it's never Zillow's homepage. It's never Zillow's homepage. It's always a page specifically set up for that location. And so when we were looking at this years ago, we said, well, we could do that with sellers too. And we could also do it with buyers. But the thing is, we can beat Zillow and Google by creating a more niche phrase. So you're never going to beat Zillow for homes for sale in Roseburg, Oregon at the city level, but you can beat Zillow for homes for sale in the North Umpqua River in Roseburg, which is a niche and people are searching for. We can crush them for that and outrank Zillow in those types of phrases. Or we have other tools in there that help create content automation for you. So one really key thing with SEO is you have to have robust content, ideally unique content. And so we have our content automation system where our team writes articles every single month. They get put into the system, and you can schedule them up on your website. You can modify them if you want to. Then our system does a basic high-level quick modification for you based on your city, like automated really quick. And then the one that I'm the most, that I love the most because I like video is it's called Video Post. And so back in the day, what I was doing, Jose, was I would take a short video because I don't like sitting down and writing articles. And I would record a 5 to 8 minute video, because if you take the words out of a 5 to 8 minute video, it's about 120 to 160 words a minute. And Google's looking for content that should be somewhere between 500, 800 words, upwards of 1,000 words, is kind of optimal. So if it's a 5-minute video, 120 words a minute, that's about a 5 to 700 word article, right? So I'd be out there on the site, hey, this is Trevor with XYZ Realty, and I'm out here at the whatever, River Homes. I'm going to give you the 5 tips that you should be looking for if you're going to buy a house in this river. 5-minute video, upload it to YouTube. You put it into our system in Video Post, and our system automatically yanks that video and transcribes it for you, sends it out, gets it transcribed all behind the scenes, and sends you an email an hour or two later, says your article is done. It's got your video at the top. It's got the full transcription. You can choose to doctor up the transcription if you want, but I don't. I just literally keep it, and it says video transcription, and you post that puppy. You do one of those a week. Now you're going to start to pop up in your area organically just by doing a 5 to 8 minute video once a week. And it takes less than 10 minutes to do the whole process. So those types of things are the things that we start to bake in with our software to make it easier in addition to our training.
That's awesome. You know, it's funny. I heard about Carrot maybe like a year and a half ago
Hmm,
because I own 57 units in California. It's about
sweet.
$12 million, but I've never had any coaching on buying investment properties, or I've never actually purposely um, thought about real estate from an investment perspective. It was
Yeah.
always like I just sold a bunch of homes, and all the money that I would make, I would basically reimburse it
Hmm,
back into holding properties. So
yep.
I am actually a member of Carrots, meaning I own a website.
I
I
love
just
it.
haven't done anything with it.
Let's get you, man. We
So
need to get,
so I was
yeah.
thinking, like, what advice would you give to somebody like me? Because this is the other alternative I was considering. I'm part of a mastermind called Collective Genius, with
Yeah.
which Gary Harper is part of that mastermind as well too.
Yep.
There's a company on there that I think already ranks in most of the cities, and what they do, I think they have a Carrots website as well. And I
Hmm.
think what they do is they take care of all that for you, and they sell you the leads. So a
Yep.
part of me just wants to say, man, that's a lot easier than kind of trying to get my website to rank, or trying to spend thousands of dollars in SEO when they've kind of all have already figured it out.
Hmm.
What would you recommend in that situation? And if you recommended for us to develop our Carrots website, which we have, it just
Yep.
we haven't done much with it.
Yeah.
What would be the best course of action to find motivated seller leads to buy properties?
Cool. Awesome question, man. And yeah, good friends of Medley. Love that guy, man. There's
Love
so many,
Medley. Yeah.
CG is such a great mastermind. At a high level, I think they're functionally different business decisions. So buying leads is a business decision, and building up an asset for the long term is a different business decision with a different investment. Right before this call, we have a series on YouTube called Behind the Deal. Every other Thursday, we break down a deal in detail with one of our customers. And this one here, Keith Sant, a long-term customer, and he's really doubled down on the SEO side up in Tacoma. And he does about 8 to 10 deals a month, almost all from SEO,
Good for him.
which is crazy. And one thing that he had said on that is, he said, on the call right before this, is he said, I could go out there and buy more rental properties, but my website is an asset, because he gets so many leads every month and doesn't have to pay for them anymore. Right. So when you're buying leads, there's a fix, just like with PPC. I love Google PPC. Like if I'm going to go into a new market, I always start with Google PPC because it's pretty predictable. You just trust the math, not emotion. Figure out what your average profit per deal is. I always like to start with about a 25% of average profit per deal is what I'm willing to do as my max cost per deal. And then on average, you're going to close about 1 in 10 to 1 in 15 of those leads on average into a deal. And then you'll figure out what your average or what your max cost per lead is. So I take my max cost per deal. I'll give an example and I'll answer your question directly. Let's say your average profit per deal is 20K. 25% of that is $5,000. I'd be pretty pumped to be able to trade that and get a 4-to-1 return. We have some people getting a 10-to-1 return, some people getting a 3-to-1 return when doing it right. And then if just for simple math, if it takes me 10 of those leads to get that deal, which is between 10 and 15 for this type of lead source, then we're looking at about a $250 max cost per lead. Right now, do I want to spend $250 in that example? I'd prefer not to. I'm sorry, $5,000 divided by 10, so $500 max cost per lead. Okay. Would I want to spend $500 per lead? No, like that sounds expensive. But math says that if I spent $500 and I closed 1 in 10 into a deal and my average profit per deal is 20K, that I would win. And I can scale that up. That's how the big guys win, is they trust the math, right? And so I would do that calculation. If I could buy leads that were converting at 1 in 10 for under $500 from that source, I'd buy them all day long. I'd buy as many as I could possibly buy, as long as they converted at 1 in 10, average profit per deal was 20K or more. And, I can get them for under $500. The problem with that is you're continually forever going to be paying that, and you don't own that source. They could pull the plug and sell to someone else just as quickly. So
Or
I
change the
was,
price on you even.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is that I'm always looking for, Jose, and this goes back to my non-negotiables. I want consistent, predictable income. I want to be able to predict my income within a 10% variance in 6 months. Because that's when you can finally have the peace and not feel like you're always stressed out. And for me, I'm always going to invest into long-term marketing far more vigorously than I'm going to invest into something that's short-term that I can't control. And when we go to evergreen marketing, that's where posting that video once a week, or that's where investing in paying someone $1,500 a month for a year or whatever to do your SEO for you. In my month 4, you're like, dude, I'm like 6 G's in and I don't have any leads yet. I could spend the same 6 G's over here and I probably would have got a deal. But the deal is you can't look at it that way. We have to look at it for the year. We have to say, I'm going to invest in probably $12,000 to $18,000 paying someone to do SEO in a good way in this market. And it's called the 2-6-1 formula. You're going to work your butt off or pay someone to work their butt off for the first 2 months. Around month 6, if they're doing it right, you're going to start to get your first trickle of leads. You might get a lead or two. Between month 6 and month 12, we then start to see a little bit more pickup. Around the month 12 is when we see some level of consistency happening if the SEO was done well. And then you should be getting that first deal or two around that month 12 if it was done well. And if your average profitable deal, because the SEO deals are far more profitable. We ran a survey. The average profit per deal for the clients, a couple hundred people answered the survey. The average profit per deal for the clients with Carrot leads of all sources through Carrot was $23,000. Those same people reported their average profit per deal for non-Carrot leads, and it was, I think, 9. So $9,000 average profit per deal on their non-Carrot leads versus $23,000 for their Carrot leads. It's a more motivated prospect, right? And so that's what we're investing into. You're going to put in 12 to 18 grand in that first year, hopefully liquidate your costs that first year, maybe break even is all I'm looking for in that first year. Hopefully more. Year 2, dude, is where it pops. Year 2 is like the majority of your SEO work is already in. Your momentum's starting to pick up. That evergreen is starting to kick in, and now you're like, man, I was getting a lead a month. Now I'm getting, then I was getting a lead a week. And now I'm getting like a lead every other day. And then in 2 more months, 3 months, it's a lead every day. And then all of a sudden, like Keith, he's getting 5 leads a day now. And he's about 2 to 3 years in, and he's doing 8 to 10 deals a month on evergreen marketing, spends no money on direct mail, no money on cold calling, no money on text message marketing. He just puts up bandit signs and has Carrot. But it took him a couple of years to get there.
Now, is this something that you have to continue after the year? Meaning, like, for example, like let's say that after the year you've invested 12 to 18,000. Is this something that it's every year recurring, that you're consistently reinvesting back into this? Or is this something that all of a sudden you've got these leads coming in and now you stop?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'm going to give you a real example. I was on a call with, so there's a big investor firm out of Baltimore, and I'm not going to name them, but I think they're the biggest one there. And we were going through some of their numbers. One second. We were going through some of their numbers the other day. Where'd my notes go? And they have been paying for SEO for a few different years. So I've got these numbers pulled up here. So that they've been paying for SEO for a few years. The short answer to the question is let's like look at it like health or fitness. Okay. So health or fitness, it's going to be really, really hard to get back in shape or back healthy, right? That first initial 2, 3, 4 months, man, it's gonna be hard, right? But when you get there, you kind of get in the roll of it. But what happens if at a year you go, oh man, I'm good. I'm already healthy. I'm fit. I'm gonna like stop doing the stuff that got me there.
Yeah.
It's going to start to go down. But here's the thing: it gets easier. So the workload goes down, and so your investment is heavier at the start, and it goes down over time. But your results are low at the start, and they go up over time. It's this inverse effect that no other marketing that I know has that inverse effect. With direct mail, with cold calling, they all work great, but they're going to be like this, right? It's you put in the work and the effort, and the work and the effort follows it because it's a hamster wheel marketing activity. It only works while you're doing it. So you can kind of tail back that investment a little bit, but someone should keep their eye on the website, and there should be some level of investment. And it's probably building a few backlinks here and there on a monthly, quarterly basis, making sure there's good content being added to it. And then someone looking at it to do adjustments, because if you're not working hard, your competitor that came up a year behind you, they might be in that mode where they're working their butt off. And then it's kind of that battle.
Now, how would I go about finding the right person? Because if you go on Upwork, there's tons of people doing SEO. If you go anywhere online, there's tons of people. And I almost feel like it's something that if you don't understand it like me, somebody can sell me, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, this, and this. 12 months later, there's 0 results. Not only that, but how do I find somebody specifically for a Carrot? Do you guys have like a list of approved vendors, or what would be the best recommendation there?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we've got our marketplace. So it's just marketplace.carrot.com. And we've got a few vendors for Google PPC, Facebook ads, and SEO. And we work with the ones that we know and trust and have great results. Now, you're never going to find the cheapest people in there, but you're going to find the ones that specifically, exclusively work with investors, that specifically, exclusively work to get sellers. They know the market, and it's usually around $1,000 to $1,500 a month for well-managed SEO. But yeah, our marketplace, dude, marketplace.carrot.com. And the stats, I'll read this stat here. This is from the call I had on Tuesday with the investor, and they've been doing it for 3 years with us. They got an ROI in year one, but it wasn't a big one. They were paying around the $1,500 a month. And this was us doing their SEO in a pilot program that we started a few years ago. We work with a few people at any given time so we can have data and always have our hands on new stuff to test and tweak. So this is last year. This is 3 years into their campaign. And we were having a call because he was saying, how do we get more of these? Because we were looking at our numbers, our multiple $1 million wholesale and flipping business. He said, these are our numbers and we want more of these. So they spent $23,000 last year on SEO. Sounds like kind of a lot, right? I don't know, but they got 166 seller leads. It turned into 17 deals. So that's almost exactly 1 in 10. That's the ratio that we always report, right? Just under $700,000 in profit generated from those deals.
Wow.
Their average profit per deal in that method is far higher. Now let's look at Google PPC for the same people in the same market. They spent about $69,000. It works as well. Generated 208 leads. So cost per lead is a little bit higher. They got 11 contracts. So it took more leads to get fewer contracts, but average contract value or average contract price, $6,500, $420,000 in gross profit. So more leads, about 40% less profits, because those are just hyper motivated people. PPC is amazing. I love it. Like, I always start there. And then the cool thing about Google PPC is if you start there, you get the data back, and you can just go after the keywords that are turning into deals. Where a lot of people go wrong with the SEO side of things, they launch this big SEO campaign, and then they do PPC later. Like, I'm going to launch SEO going after the main keywords I know are going to be the good ones, like sell my house fast, whatever city. We Buy Houses still works in most cities, but not all. There's a couple of dynamics in some cities where We Buy House doesn't get searched a lot. Cash home buyers is a good one. There's a whole array of other ones, but we'll run a PPC campaign for 2, 3, 4 months. We pull that data as we're looking at it, and we target the ones that are getting the best ROI and actually turning into contracts. We go, dude, all right, that's your goal now, to go after those for organic, because we know they're turning into contracts. We know they're producing deals.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And then what is the main difference between the agent website and the investor website?
Yeah, so the agent website's newer to Carrot, the last 2 or 3 years, and this year we're like really stepping into that hard and saying, we're actually going to put the focus that we need to really solve this problem for our agents well. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think we've given it a C+ effort on the agent side, while we've given it the A+ effort on the investor, because that's where we came from eight years ago. But we're going to give it the A+ effort on both this year. But the main difference is, with investors, your buyers and your sellers on the investor side are completely different people, right? So a motivated house seller is not usually also a cash buyer. So you have to have separate websites. We've tested trying to have one website for an investor that can play both for investors or for cash buyers and for sellers. It doesn't work because you're confusing the message. What are you going to put in your FAQ? What about the about page? Like, all that should be talking to that one prospect. Your testimonial should be to solve objections for that one prospect. With agents, a retail buyer is a retail seller. It's just it's just one happens before the other. And so an agent can have one website because they're speaking to the same person, just a different timeline, right? And so that's the main strategic difference. Number two, if you're a hybrid like you are, that's what we're really trying to work with our clients to really dive into hybrid more, because that's what's going to win the market moving forward. If you look at all the iBuyers, we called it years and years ago, I'm like, they're all going to become brokers. And then people are like, no, they're not going to be. Why would they be? Why would they not be? They're getting so many darn leads that they're throwing money away if they're not serving someone who doesn't want a cash offer at a discount, that they want a retail offer, and they're willing to wait 60 or 90 days to get their money. And so having both options and being able to go serve it to people and say, hey, you know what, I figured, here's your situation. I thank you for sharing it with me. I really think you should actually sell it on the market because that's what's going to give the most money in your pocket. But if you do need to sell quickly, here's what we could buy it for today and have it done in 7 days. You wouldn't like just keep all the stuff in the house you don't want to keep and like da. The person who doesn't actually have the pain and the problem is going to take the listing route. The person who truly has a pain and a problem and doesn't want to go retail is going to take the cash offer.
Yeah.
So that is where on investors, we're going to hyper focus on the seller because your seller is the key. If we can get sellers as an investor, or if you're a hybrid, I would honestly focus heavily as the hybrid agent on just marketing motivated sellers, because now that turns into retail listings. 80% of those leads want retail.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
And that was one of the reasons I wanted to get involved with Carrot, because the golden thing in real estate is the listing.
Yep.
And if you can buy it, great. But if you can take a listing as well too, it's great as well too. What is the pricing for the websites?
Yeah, so we've tried to price it. Number one, it's really affordable. Probably priced a little bit too low, but for investors, you can get in for under $100. For agents, it's at 100. And then our top price plan that unlocks more of our marketing features, that unlocks the ability to add more websites. If you're an investor, to have multiple sites for like land or cash buyers or mobile home. We have a lot of people using our system to get mobile home leads. Our number 3 lead in the entire system are land sellers. So it's motivated house sellers, cash buyers, and land sellers by data. But we're between about $100 a month and $200 a month. And then there's some add-ons here and there. But most people are paying around $150 or so.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yep.
And then does Carrot have a CRM component to it, or is it mainly lead generation?
Yeah, good question, man. So we have a really simple lead manager inside of our system. It's not a CRM. You can view the leads in there. You can see where the lead came from. Did it come from a Google search, Google PPC, what time it came in? All their data is in there. You can move it from one stage to the next, but we don't have automation in there. Cool thing. I'll give you like a little, you'll be the first one to have like a little pre-seed of this announcement. I can't say what the specific thing is, but we just bought a company, another software company in this space that is a CRM with automated follow-up. And we're just really, really excited about stepping in and helping to grow that company. So that full announcement will come out in about 2 or 3 months. But yeah, we just bought a CRM and follow-up system.
Good for you, man. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Good. Anything else that you think would be of value to the viewers?
Dude, I think the biggest thing is from the Carrot side of it, we're definitely not right for everybody. Like, we're right for the people who want to invest for the long term. If someone is just wanting to push the button and have the result come in and not have the work, I mean, this isn't it. And honestly, that's the mindset that keeps people on the hamster wheel. And I want people to have that vision. Like, where do you want to go with your business? And then recognize that your marketing is one of the biggest influencers that dictates how your lifestyle is in your business. If you're doing marketing that requires you to sift through a bunch of unmotivated leads, then you're going to have to hire staff to do that. It means your staffing costs go up, or you're going to have to do it. And you just have to recognize that you have to do that. Nothing wrong with it. Just recognize direct mail, it's 1 in 30 to 1 in 40 leads into a deal. Radio, TV, it's 1 in 50 to 160 leads into a deal. SEO, it's 1 in 10 to 1 in 15. So your staff looks different then at that point. It's a different business at that point. Number 2, if you have a vision to get off of the hamster wheel, we have to start building that foundation today for that evergreen marketing, for SEO, for getting ranked in front of that flood of the most motivated people for a while. So we have to have that vision for where we're wanting to go with our company. And if you're ready and willing to invest over the long term, I can tell you that it's really, really good in this side of things. But the first year is hard. The first year is like, you second guess yourself and you're wondering, man, why am I making this investment? And am I doing the right thing? But I can tell you, it's just like momentum, dude. It's a rocket ship. So much energy goes into getting that rocket ship off the ground. It's going slow. It's not going anywhere for a little while. And all of a sudden it starts going somewhere and it starts picking up momentum. As it gets up there, it boosts the rockets, the fuel off, and then it effortlessly flies through. Very little energy required to go insanely fast. And that's what happens with the online side of marketing. So there's that. And then I'll wrap with this, man, is guys, follow energy. Not like, don't try to be productive for productive's sake. Don't try to maximize your tasks based on what gives you the most money. Okay. Maximize your work based on what gives you most energy. And I can tell you that your life will change. Your business will change. Your money will go up as a result because you're doing things that you're finally passionate about and purposeful on, and that you're excited to go to work every day. Your income will go up when you do that. So go to carrot.com/energy, get the energy audit. Take that, start to adjust the way you're tackling your life. And if we can help you at Carrot, like we are helping about 8,000 other investors and agents, we'd love to work with you. If not, tons of free content. Carrotcast.com is my podcast. We just love to be in your orbit in some way, shape, or form to help you.
I love it, man. I want to say thank you for obviously being on the show and just sharing everything. I can tell when somebody knows what they're talking about, and you've definitely been through the entrepreneur journey. For all our viewers, if you've enjoyed this episode of the Residual Real Estate Agent Show, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you feel that this episode will help a friend, a family member, or even a neighbor, make sure to share that link with them. This was episode number 101. We had Trevor Mauch. He is the founder and CEO of Carrot websites. Thanks again, Trevor. We appreciate you, and I look forward to staying in touch with you.
Dude, likewise, man. I appreciate the opportunity. I always love doing this. It's a highlight of my week, and it's my energy day, man, content day. So thanks for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, guys.